She whispered, "My feelings for you are real, just not the love kind." Her friends called her brave. My reply was silence, and that silence shattered her far more than any words could. That I used to think engagement parties were a formality, another excuse for families to dress up, eat finger food, and clink champagne glasses over a future that looks bright. I didn't even want one. If it were up to me, we would have just gone straight to the ceremony, kept it small, signed the papers, and maybe gone away for a quiet honeymoon. But Ava, my fiancée, loved the idea of milestones. Her words, not mine. "Life needs chapters," she told me one evening, curled up on my couch with her laptop open to Pinterest boards. "You don't just skip ahead. You celebrate the little stops along the way." And so I gave in. We started planning the engagement party, a mid-sized gathering at a downtown venue, enough food and drinks for about 80 guests, a DJ, some floral decor. Nothing extravagant, but still more than I ever thought I'd spend on a pre-wedding event. The deposit alone made my stomach tighten, but Ava's smile when the contracts were signed eased me. That's how it was with her. She could get me to bend, to stretch, to pay, to compromise. She wasn't pushy in the obvious way. It was more subtle. Ava had a talent for convincing me that my resistance was rooted in pessimism or not believing in joy. Sometimes I wondered if that was true. We'd been together 3 years. I met her at a friend's holiday party. She was sharp-witted, dressed in a way that made everyone else look underdressed, and she had this magnetic laugh that people leaned toward like moths to a lamp. When she looked at me across the room, it felt like being chosen. I'd never been the chosen one before. Our relationship moved quickly, dating, moving in together, meeting families. My mom thought Ava was a little much. My dad thought she was good for me. My sister stayed neutral. I learned to tune out the mixed reviews. What mattered was how Ava looked at me in private, eyes soft, hand on my chest, murmuring how safe she felt with me. And yet, there were cracks, like the way she'd flirt openly with waiters and then brush it off as just being friendly, or how she maintained close contact with exes, claiming she didn't believe in burning bridges. Once, she spent a whole weekend with her college friends on a trip where, as I later learned, her old flame James was also present. When I asked why she hadn't mentioned him, she rolled her eyes. "Because I knew you'd overthink it." It was nothing. I swallowed it. I always swallowed it. Because the alternative, being the jealous, controlling guy, seemed worse. When I proposed, I thought everything would stabilize. Engagement, I figured, meant commitment. No more gray areas. No more blurred lines with old friends. For a while, it seemed that way. Ava dived headfirst into wedding planning with almost manic energy. Binders, spreadsheets, group chats with bridesmaids, late-night Pinterest marathons. She called vendors, met florists, compared cake samples. I felt both included and irrelevant at the same time. Included in that she'd update me constantly, irrelevant because every decision was already made by the time she brought it up. I became the yes man, nodding along, telling myself this was normal, that brides just get more invested than grooms. But one conversation stuck with me. We were lying in bed, exhausted from a day of cake tastings. She scrolled through her phone and murmured, "You know, James texted me today. He heard about the engagement." I stiffened slightly, and she smiled faintly. "He said he was happy for me, that he always knew I'd end up with someone stable." Stable. It didn't sound like a compliment. I asked if she was going to invite him to the wedding. She laughed. "Of course not. Don't be silly. But maybe the engagement party, just as a casual guest. We're friends." My chest tightened, but I forced a smile. "We'll see." The week before the party, small arguments flared. She wanted an open bar. I worried about costs. She wanted a videographer. I said we already had a photographer. She wanted to include more of her people, even though we were capped on headcount. Eventually, I relented on almost everything. Not because I didn't care, but because I didn't want to fight. Ava had a way of framing disagreements as me sabotaging joy. And maybe she was right. Maybe I was too practical. The night before the party, I barely slept. Not out of excitement, out of unease. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was throwing a celebration for a role I wasn't fully cast in. Like I was the dependable understudy while she still imagined the lead belonging to someone else. Still, I put on my suit the next evening, checked my tie twice, and drove us to the venue. The air was buzzing with music, chatter, the clinking of glasses. People congratulated us, toasted to forever, took endless photos. Ava was radiant, floating from group to group like she was already the star of her own movie. I tried to match her energy, smile on command, shake hands, accept hugs. But a thought gnawed at me every time I lost sight of her in the crowd. Who else was she greeting tonight? The day after the engagement party felt surreal, like I was floating outside my own body. Normally, I'd wake up smiling, thinking about the life we were building together, the upcoming wedding, and the honeymoon plans we'd already made. Instead, I woke up to a phone that wouldn't stop buzzing. Each vibration another reminder that the spectacle we had created wasn't going away quietly. There were messages from friends. "Man, are you okay?" From relatives. "We're so sorry you had to go through that." Even strangers who had seen someone's Instagram story of the night. "Bro, she really did that at your party?" Screenshots, blurry videos, and gossip spread faster than I thought possible. People replayed the moment she leaned in, her hand on his arm, lips pressed against his like it was the most natural thing in the world. Some defended her. They said it looked harmless, that maybe it really was just a cultural thing or a quirky habit. But I wasn't buying it. I had been with her long enough to know her friendly versus her intimate. That kiss wasn't the former. By noon, she was at my apartment door, pounding hard enough for my neighbor to poke his head out of his unit. I opened it, not because I wanted to, but because I wanted to hear the story she'd try to spin. She looked wrecked, hair unbrushed, mascara smudged, wearing an oversized hoodie like she'd just rolled out of bed after crying all night. Her engagement ring glinted under the dull hallway light as she twisted it nervously. "Can we talk?" she asked, voice shaking. I let her in. She sat on the couch like she was entering a courtroom, shoulders tight, eyes darting around like she was searching for an escape route. "It wasn't what it looked like," she blurted before I even sat down. He's an old friend. That's just how we've always greeted each other." It meant nothing. I laughed, a short, bitter sound that even surprised me. "You really think that's going to work on me?" Her face crumpled, but I kept going. "Do you think I'm blind? Do you think I'm stupid? You kissed another man at our engagement party. You don't get to call that just a greeting. Not when it's in front of both our families. Not when we're supposed to be celebrating us." Tears welled in her eyes. "I made a mistake, okay? But you humiliated me when you kissed my sister. Everyone's talking about that, too." "That wasn't humiliation," I shot back. "That was me showing you just how ridiculous your excuse sounded. If kissing old friends is just a greeting, then kissing your sister goodbye should be just as innocent, right?" Her mouth fell open, but no words came out. She sat there, blinking rapidly, like she was waiting for me to soften, to tell her we could work through it. But I was done softening. "You embarrassed me," I said quietly. "You disrespected me. And worst of all, you revealed who you really are when the stakes are high. If this is how you act during an engagement, what happens after we're married? What happens when things get harder?" She sniffled, wiping her nose with her sleeve. "So what? You're calling off the wedding? Over one stupid kiss?" I leaned back, crossed my arms, and held her gaze. "The wedding was over the second you kissed him. I just hadn't said it out loud yet." Her shoulders sagged like I'd physically punched her. She buried her face in her hands, sobbing. I didn't move to comfort her. That part of me, the part that wanted to hold her, reassure her, take away her pain, had died last night. After she left, the silence in my apartment was deafening. I sat there for an hour, staring at nothing, until I picked up the phone and started making calls. Venue, canceled. Florist, deposit revoked. Catering, pulled. Photographer, released. Each call felt like another nail in the coffin of a relationship I'd once thought unshakable. That evening, my parents came over. My mom hugged me without asking questions, and my dad poured us both a drink. "You did the right thing," he said. "Better now than later." Her family, on the other hand, blew up my phone. Her mother left a long voicemail accusing me of overreacting. Her father demanded a man-to-man sit-down. Her cousin messaged me something along the lines of, "Every couple has bumps. Don't be so dramatic." But the one that hit hardest was a text from her sister, the very same one I'd kissed goodbye at the party. She wrote, "I don't blame you. She's been reckless for a long time. You just finally saw it." That text told me everything I needed to know. This wasn't a one-off slip. This wasn't about just a greeting. This was about a pattern I'd been too blinded by love to recognize until the mask slipped in front of everyone. And once you see someone clearly, You can't unsee it. Update 1. The first week after the canceled wedding was pure chaos. I thought I'd feel relief after cutting ties, but what I got instead was noise. Constant, unrelenting noise. Her friends spammed me with DMs, half defending her, half berating me. It was just a kiss. You're overreacting. Do you know how badly you embarrassed her kissing her sister? She still loves you. You just need to talk it out. I ignored most of them, but one message stood out. It was from her best friend, a woman who'd never liked me much. She wrote, "She's devastated. She hasn't left her room in days." You don't want to be the guy who ruins someone's life over pride, do you? I stared at that for a long time. Was I being prideful? Was I throwing away years of history over a single mistake? That question gnawed at me until I opened Instagram. There she was, less than 24 hours after sobbing in my living room, posting selfies with captions like, "Rebuilding myself, stronger than ever," and "Real love forgives mistakes." Her comment section was filled with sympathy. People called me cold, heartless, controlling. Some even suggested I must have been abusive if she had to act out for attention. I almost laughed. That's how quickly narratives get twisted online. Meanwhile, I was the one dealing with non-refundable deposits, fielding awkward questions at work, and sorting through the debris of a relationship I had thought would last forever. 2 weeks later, she showed up at my door again. No mascara this time, no hoodie. She was dressed perfectly, hair done, makeup flawless, clothes carefully chosen. The kind of outfit you wear when you want to look like you have your life together. "Can we please talk?" she asked. Her voice was softer, almost rehearsed. I let her in, mostly because I wanted to see what angle she'd take this time. She sat on the couch, folded her hands neatly, and started in. "I've had time to reflect. What I did at the party was inappropriate. I see that now. But you kissing my sister, that really cut me too. We both made mistakes." I raised an eyebrow. "So now it's 50-50? She didn't flinch. Relationships are about forgiveness, about moving forward. We've built so much together. Are you really willing to throw it all away?" I studied her. The tears were gone. The panic was gone. This wasn't desperation. This was negotiation. She wanted to salvage the engagement not because she loved me, but because she loved the stability, the future, the image. "You kissed another man," I said slowly, "and then tried to gaslight me in front of everyone. That's not a mistake. That's a choice." And it told me everything I needed to know. Her composure cracked just a little, her lips trembling. "So that's it. Years together gone? Just like that." "Not just like that," I corrected. "Bit by bit." I ignored red flags, overlooked lies, downplayed selfishness. The party was just the final straw. She blinked rapidly, then stood up abruptly. "You'll regret this," she whispered. "You think you're making some strong move, but you'll wake up alone and realize you threw away the best thing you ever had." And then she left. I thought that was the end. It wasn't. By week 3, my parents started getting calls from her family. Her mother begged them to knock some sense into me. Her father accused me of humiliating their daughter publicly. Even her sister, the one who'd quietly supported me before, texted to say maybe I'd gone too far. The pressure mounted. My mom, bless her, stayed firm. He made his decision. Respected. But I could tell it was weighing on her. My dad kept repeating, "Better now than later," like it was his mantra. Work wasn't much better. A coworker forwarded me a TikTok some mutual acquaintance had posted, a montage of pictures of us together with the caption, "When men can't handle a strong woman." Thousands of likes, hundreds of comments, most mocking me. That night, lying in bed staring at the ceiling, I realized just how public this had become. My private heartbreak had turned into internet entertainment. And yet, I felt strangely calm, detached, like I was watching all of this from the outside. Because deep down, I knew the truth. Silence was more powerful than any comeback. So I stopped replying. To her texts, to her calls, to her family's guilt-tripping. I locked down my socials, removed her tags, deleted old posts. I didn't block her. Blocking would have given her the satisfaction of knowing she still had power to affect me. Instead, I simply erased her access. She tried everything. Sad voicemails, angry ones, long paragraphs about love and forgiveness. Short, sharp lines like, "So this is how much I meant to you." I didn't respond. A month after the party, she broke. I came home to find a letter slid under my door, pages long, confessing that she'd panicked, that she hadn't known how to explain herself, that she still wanted a future with me. I folded it carefully, tucked it into a drawer, and never replied. It sounds cruel, but here's the thing. She wanted words, engagement, a fight. Silence was the only language left that could show her what she had truly lost. And in that silence, I finally found something I hadn't felt in weeks. Peace. Final update. Point 3 months after the engagement party, my life looked eerily normal on the surface. I went to work, came home, hit the gym, grabbed dinner with friends. If you squinted, you might think nothing had happened. But inside, something fundamental had shifted. Silence had become my armor. I didn't post cryptic quotes or angry rants. I didn't subtweet or stalk her socials. I simply erased her from my orbit. And the absence, the lack of reaction, the lack of acknowledgement, drove her wild. At first, she tried persistence. Dozens of texts, sometimes in a single day. Then came the guilt trips. I'll never forgive myself if you don't talk to me. So you're just going to abandon everything we built? After that, desperation. I'm begging you. Just one coffee, just one conversation. I responded to none. By month 2, the tone shifted. Friends started telling me she was lashing out publicly. At brunch, she reportedly joked, "Guess I wasn't submissive enough for him." Another time, she called me a control freak who overreacted to a cultural greeting. People laughed along, but I could sense the bitterness under her words. Her Instagram went from glossy selfies and couple photos to half-baked inspirational quotes. Stuff like, "Some people can't handle a strong woman's energy," or "When someone loses you, that's their karma." But then, something else started happening. Mutual friends, the ones who had once criticized me for overreacting, began reaching out. One admitted she'd caught my ex flirting with a coworker at a bar months before the party. Another said she'd overheard her bragging about how easily she could get away with stuff because I trusted her too much. Piece by piece, the picture came together. The engagement party wasn't a one-off mistake. It was just the first time she'd slipped where everyone could see. The final nail came from her own sister. Out of nowhere, she messaged me. "I tried to stay out of it, but you deserve to know." She wasn't just kissing that guy. There were others. It wasn't love. It was attention. She loved the chase more than the commitment. I stared at that message for a long time. My first reaction wasn't rage or betrayal. It was validation. Relief, almost. Like my silence hadn't just been pettiness. It had been the only sane response. By month 3, her attempts to reach me had all but stopped. Except one night, around 1 a.m., my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. I answered groggily, and there she was, voice slurred, words tumbling out. "You win." "Okay, you win." I thought I could move on, but I can't. Everyone sees me differently now. I thought you'd chase me, fight for me, but you didn't. You just left. Do you even care? Did you ever care? Her words blurred between sobs. I sat there, phone pressed to my ear, listening in silence. When she paused, waiting for me to say something, I hung up. It felt cruel. It also felt final. A week later, I heard she had moved out of state to start fresh. Maybe she'll reinvent herself. Maybe she'll find someone new who tolerates the games. But for me, the story ended that night with the click of a call dropping. Because the truth is, love isn't measured by who can scream the loudest, post the most, or win sympathy points online. Love is measured by respect. And once that's gone, silence speaks louder than any confrontation. What I learned. In the months since, I've thought a lot about what silence cost me and what it gave me. It cost me closure in the traditional sense. We never sat down for the big, dramatic, final conversation. No heartfelt apologies, no promises to change. Just a void where a future used to be. But it gave me peace. Real, unshakable peace. I didn't have to defend myself in endless arguments. I didn't have to craft some grand narrative for friends or strangers online. I let her actions tell the story, and I let my absence confirm the ending. It also reshaped the way I see relationships. I used to think love meant constant communication, constant forgiveness, bending until you almost broke. Now I see it differently. Love isn't about how much you can endure. It's about how much respect exists in the first place. Silence taught me boundaries. That I don't have to explain my worth to someone who disregards it. That I don't have to chase someone who disrespected me publicly and privately. That sometimes, the most powerful move is no move at all. Epilogue. 6 months later, I was at a mutual friend's wedding. She wasn't there. She was long gone by then. But people whispered. Some still pitied her, others mocked her. A few told me quietly, "You were smart. We all see it now." I didn't gloat. I didn't feel vindicated. I just felt done. And when I drove home from that wedding, I realized something. My silence had done more than end a toxic engagement. It had started a new chapter in my life, one where my voice wasn't wasted defending myself to someone determined not to listen. She once told me, "My feelings for you are real, just not the love kind." She thought those words made her brave. But it turns out, my silence was braver. Because it was final.